Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good evening, friends. When I first heard the phrase, act like a lady, think like a man, I felt a little spark of curiosity and a wave of discomfort. It's catchy, no doubt, but it raises a deeper question. Why do we assign behaviors, strategies, or ways of thinking to gender? And what if, instead of trying to fit into these predefined molds, we redefine what it means to live authentically, boldly, and wholeheartedly? So today, I want to flip that script. Let's explore not how to think like someone else, but how to embrace all the facets of who we are. We've all been taught to play roles at some point in our lives. Society hands us scripts and we learn to act accordingly. Smile more, don't speak too loudly, don't let them see how much you care, how much you're struggling, or how much you dream. These are the unspoken rules we absorb from an early age, rules that often convince us that wearing a mask is safer than showing our true selves. But let me tell you something, when we live behind a mask, we cut ourselves off from the very things that make life meaningful: connection, belonging, and growth. Authenticity isn't just a buzzword, it's a profound act of courage. To be authentic means to stand in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it makes others question you, and even when it means risking rejection. I get it, it's terrifying. Vulnerability feels like stepping onto a stage without a script, without a costume, and without any guarantee of applause. But the truth is, when we hide behind perfection, we're not protecting ourselves, we're isolating ourselves. And the cost of that isolation is enormous. You can't build trust without being honest about who you are. You can't feel seen if you're hiding. And you certainly can't lead with impact if you're pretending to be someone else. Being authentic isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about showing up fully, owning your story, and saying, this is me. Your quirks, your flaws, your strengths, your dreams, all of it is part of the package. And here's the magic. When you lead with authenticity, you give others permission to do the same. You create an environment where people feel safe to bring their whole selves to the table. It doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It doesn't mean everyone will accept you or understand you. But what it does mean is that you'll be free. Free to live in alignment with your values, free to connect deeply with the people who matter, free to grow into the person you're meant to be. So the next time you're tempted to put on a mask and play a role, ask yourself, what would it look like if I showed up as my truest self? What would I gain by being real, even if it feels scary? Because I promise you this, authenticity is not only the bravest choice, it's the most rewarding one. Power is one of those words that carries so much weight. For many of us, it's been defined by what we've seen around us, people with loud voices, big titles, and the ability to control outcomes. We've been conditioned to think that power means dominance, and it's often portrayed as something you have to grab, fight for, or even take from someone else. But what if we've been looking at power all wrong? True power doesn't come from a title, position, or even external recognition. It comes from within. It's grounded in knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you're willing to fight for. Not against others, but for yourself and the things that matter to you. When you operate from this place, power becomes less about control and more about connection, less about force and more about influence. The truth is, real power is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself or demand attention. It doesn't rely on intimidation or manipulation. It's the kind of power that comes from self-awareness, from understanding your values, and from having the courage to live in alignment with those values, even when it's difficult. But redefining power also means rejecting some of the narratives we've been handed. It means questioning the idea that success has to come at someone else's expense, or that you need to sacrifice parts of yourself to be seen as strong. It's about refusing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable or to fit into roles that don't serve you. When you define power on your own terms, you're giving yourself permission to lead in a way that feels authentic. You're creating space for others to show up fully too. You're saying, I don't have to play by outdated rules to make an impact. And that's where the magic happens, when you stop worrying about how others define power and start focusing on how you want to show up in the world. Power doesn't mean having all the answers or never making mistakes. It means being willing to take risks, to make decisions that align with your vision, and to trust yourself in the process. It's about using your voice even when it shakes, standing firm in your truth even when it's unpopular, and lifting others up along the way. The most powerful people I know aren't the loudest or the flashiest. They're the ones who are rooted in something deeper than ego or external validation. They're the ones who understand that power is about service, integrity, and resilience. And they're the ones who remind us that when you define power for yourself, you not only change your life, you change the lives of everyone around you. So, let go of the old definitions, let go of the need to prove anything to anyone, and start claiming your power in a way that feels true to you. Because the moment you do, you'll realize it was never about taking something from someone else. It was about discovering what's been within you all along. We live in a world that often tells us there's only so much success to go around. From an early age, we're taught to compete, to be better, faster, smarter than the person next to us. The message is clear: if you want to win, someone else has to lose. It's a mindset rooted in scarcity, the belief that there's only a limited amount of opportunities, recognition, or resources. But what if that's not true? What if the greatest opportunities come not from competing against others, but from collaborating with them? The idea of every person for themselves might get you short-term wins, but it's a lonely, exhausting way to live. Collaboration, on the other hand, is where true growth happens, when we stop seeing others as rivals and start seeing them as allies. We unlock potential we didn't even know existed. We create spaces where ideas flow freely, where strengths complement each other, and where everyone has a chance to shine. Think about it. No one achieves anything meaningful entirely on their own. Every great leader, artist, innovator, or trailblazer has stood on the shoulders of those who came before them or beside them. Success isn't a solo act. It's a symphony. It's what happens when people bring their unique talents, perspectives, and energies together toward a shared goal. But here's the thing, collaboration requires a mindset shift. It requires us to let go of the fear that someone else's success diminishes our own. It means celebrating the wins of others, even when we're still waiting for our turn. It means understanding that someone else's strengths don't threaten us, they enhance us. Collaboration also takes courage. It's vulnerable to open yourself up, to admit that you don't have all the answers, and to trust that someone else will show up and meet you halfway. But when you do, the rewards are immeasurable. You create connections that are deeper and more meaningful than any individual achievement. You build a network of support, encouragement, and inspiration that lifts everyone higher. There's a profound strength in saying, I don't have to do this alone. When we work together, we create something bigger than what any one of us could do individually. We bring new perspectives to the table. We solve problems in ways we never could on our own. And we remind each other that success isn't a limited resource. It's something we can multiply when we share it. Collaboration doesn't mean there's no room for ambition or competition. It simply means recognizing that competition can be healthy when it's rooted in respect, not rivalry. It's about pushing each other to be better without tearing each other down. It's about understanding that we're stronger when we rise together than when we stand alone. Imagine what could happen if we let go of the idea that life is a zero-sum game. If we stopped seeing each other as competitors and started seeing each other as collaborators. The possibilities are endless when we realize that someone else's success doesn't take away from our own, it adds to it. So the next time you feel that urge to compare or compete, pause and ask yourself, what would happen if I chose collaboration instead? What could we create together that I couldn't create on my own? Because the truth is, when we choose to collaborate, we don't just grow our individual success. We expand what's possible for everyone. Emotional intelligence is often misunderstood. People hear the word emotions and immediately think of softness, vulnerability, or something secondary to logic and reason. But emotional intelligence, understanding and managing your emotions, empathizing with others, and navigating human relationships is one of the most profound and practical skills we can develop. It's not just a nice to have quality. It's foundational to how we live, lead, and connect with the world. Think about it, at the heart of every meaningful interaction, every successful relationship, and every effective team is the ability to understand and respond to emotions, yours and others. Yet many of us were never taught to value this. We were raised to believe that showing emotion is a weakness, that we should prioritize being rational and keep our feelings hidden or under control. The result, a world where people struggle to connect, misunderstand one another, and let pride or fear drive decisions instead of empathy and clarity. But here's the truth. Emotional intelligence is not the opposite of logic. It's not a barrier to productivity or effectiveness. It's a superpower that enhances every other skill you have. Emotional intelligence allows you to see beyond surface level interactions and truly understand what's going on with the people around you. It gives you the ability to navigate conflict, build trust, and inspire collaboration. It's what makes leaders not just effective, but transformative. Being emotionally intelligent starts with self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't understand, and that includes your emotions. When you take the time to tune into your feelings, what's triggering them, how they're showing up, and what they're telling you, you take back control of your responses. Instead of being reactive, you become intentional. You can step back, breathe, and choose how to respond rather than letting anger, fear, or frustration dictate your actions. But it doesn't stop there. Emotional intelligence also involves empathy, which is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Empathy isn't just about being kind or compassionate. It's about truly putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's about listening not to reply, but to understand. It's about recognizing that everyone you encounter is carrying their own struggles, dreams, and fears, just like you. When you practice empathy, you create a bridge between yourself and others. You build trust, break down walls, and create spaces where people feel safe and valued. Another key part of emotional intelligence is managing relationships. Whether you're working with a team, navigating a difficult conversation, or supporting a loved one, your ability to connect and communicate effectively can make or break the outcome. Emotional intelligence helps you read the room, pick up on unspoken cues, and respond in ways that de-escalate tension and foster understanding. It's the difference between a leader who inspires and one who intimidates, between a partner who listens and one who dismisses. What's so powerful about emotional intelligence is that it's not fixed. You're not born with a set amount of it. It's a skill you can build, a muscle you can strengthen over time. The more you practice self-awareness, empathy, and relationship management, the more naturally they'll come to you. And the more you develop your emotional intelligence, the more you'll notice how it transforms every aspect of your life. Okay. People who prioritize emotional intelligence don't just survive in relationships, workplaces, or communities, they thrive. They understand that emotions aren't obstacles to overcome, but tools to harness. They use their emotions to connect, inspire, and make decisions that align with their values. And they understand that being emotionally intelligent doesn't mean you never feel fear, anger, or sadness. It means you know how to navigate those emotions in a way that serves you and others. So let's rethink what we've been taught about emotions. Let's stop seeing them as weaknesses to hide and start recognizing them as strengths to embrace. Because when you learn to lead with emotional intelligence, you're not just improving your own life, you're making the world around you a little bit brighter, a little bit kinder, and a lot more human. Confidence is one of those qualities we all admire, but many of us misunderstand where it comes from. We often think confident people were simply born that way, that they never feel self-doubt, hesitation, or fear. Or we convince ourselves that confidence will magically appear once we achieve some elusive level of perfection. We think, if I could just get everything right, then I'll feel ready. Then I'll be confident. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It doesn't come from waiting until you have all the answers, until you've eliminated every risk, or until you're sure you won't fail. Confidence comes from doing the thing you're afraid to do. It comes from taking action, even when you feel unprepared or uncertain. Action is the great teacher. Every time you try, every time you step forward, no matter how small the step, you're proving to yourself that you're capable. It's in those moments of effort, not perfection, that confidence grows. You don't need to have it all figured out to begin. In fact, most people who seem confident didn't start that way. They became confident by showing up, stumbling, learning, and trying again. The pursuit of perfection, on the other hand, is a trap. It keeps you stuck. When you're waiting to be perfect, you're really just waiting to avoid failure or criticism. But avoiding failure doesn't build confidence. Facing it does. It's in those moments when you mess up, when things don't go as planned, that you learn what you're capable of. You discover your resilience, your resourcefulness, and your ability to adapt. And those lessons are far more valuable than any illusion of perfection could ever be. Think about it. The people you admire most, the ones who seem to have unshakable confidence, didn't get there by avoiding mistakes. They got there by embracing the process. They took risks. They failed. They got back up and they kept going. Confidence is built in the doing, not in the waiting. But here's the thing. Taking action doesn't mean you won't feel fear. Fear is natural. It's your brain's way of protecting you from the unknown. The difference is that confident people don't let fear stop them. They feel it, acknowledge it, and take the step anyway. They trust that even if things don't go perfectly, they'll learn something valuable. And here's another secret. Confidence isn't loud or flashy. It doesn't mean you're never nervous or that you always know what you're doing. Real confidence is quiet. It's the steady belief that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. It's knowing that your worth isn't tied to the outcome, but to the effort you're willing to put in. If you're waiting to feel ready, you might be waiting forever. The truth is, readiness is a myth. The moment you start taking action, even when you feel unprepared, you're already building confidence. Every step you take, no matter how small, reinforces the idea that you can do hard things. And let's not forget the power of celebrating progress. Confidence isn't about crossing the finish line, it's about acknowledging how far you've come. Did you speak up in a meeting, even though your voice shook? That's progress. Did you try something new, even though you were nervous? That's courage. Each of these moments is a building block for your confidence. So stop waiting to be perfect. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Start where you are with what you have and take the first step. It might be messy, it might be uncomfortable, but it will be worth it. Confidence isn't something you earn after the fact. It's something you create in the moment. It's the result of showing up, trying, and learning along the way. And the more you act, the more confident you'll become, not because you've achieved perfection, but because you've proven to yourself that you can handle whatever comes your way. That's the kind of confidence that lasts. So here's the takeaway. You don't need to act like anyone else or think like anyone else to succeed. What you need is to act like the most authentic version of yourself and think in ways that align with your values and goals. When we stop trying to fit into someone else's box, we create space for innovation, connection, and meaningful change. And that, my friends, is how we redefine what it means to lead. Thank you.